You've got to be kidding me. I sighed into my palm as I stared at the red-headed goddess in front of me. The Morrigan wore her black dress well. It hugged her slender frame and towed the line between elegant and immodest. Her jewelry was adorned with emeralds that matched her eyes, but one item stood out of place, a large ruby and gold amulet clasped around her throat. She was pristine, her eyes alight with deviousness as she stared me down. Now the gods themselves are coming to me. I need a drink. As I glanced back at the shattered and ruined shelves that still poured amber down the wood into the cobblestone floor from where Miguel had thrown his glass, the sharp medicinal scent of alcohol filled the air and watered my mouth. Shattered glass and expensive liquor littered the stone behind the bar. The subtle drip was constant as my nose burned and I breathed in deep. Want a drink, but can't have a drink. Withdrawal fucking sucks. It was all the proof I needed that I had been deluding myself for years, a fact that Magnus had so easily seen about me. I was an alcoholic. But in times like these, that doesn't seem like a bad thing. It wasn't exactly easy, but I composed myself and took Eris's and Raven's hands, squeezing tight. The mere presence of them was sufficient to get me out of my head enough to deal with Morgan. All right. Why do the gods need a thug for hire? Morgan smiled at me, and a flash of predatory delight filled her eyes. Her shadow stretched behind her as it fell across the many tables and chairs of the gray cask and danced in the firelight. It's quite simple. I need you to stop a war that's brewing. A war? I scratched my chin. Between whom? Morgan walked over to the bar, where Miguel sat nursing one of the few remaining unbroken bottles of whiskey, and plucked it from his slack fingers. He barely noticed. She sat down on the stool and leaned back against the bar top facing me. Morgan took a swig and set the bottle down with a sigh of contentment. The Rabbitmen and Wolfmen. I scoffed. Whatever the hell for? Morgan chuckled and took another sip from the bottle. The Amina clan's leader's daughter has been kidnapped, and they have reason to believe that it was the Holst clan's doing. The two races have always been enemies, but this goes beyond petty squabbles. The entire balance of power for the Pale Everlands hangs by a frayed thread, and this couldn't come at a worse time. Her words gave me pause as a small spark of recognition jostled through my brain. Lagos and the other Rabbitmen back at Gloom Harbor mentioned something about the Amina clan when we rescued them from the slavers. They said something precious had been taken, but they didn't know what. I guess I know now. Personally, I didn't really see the point of helping. The Rabbitmen and Wolfmen were far removed from the rest of society. I'd only encountered their two races a few times in my 30 years on Nexus. Because of the slavery laws of the Compass Kingdom, they rarely left the Everlands. As the goddess of demi-humans, I get that you want to resolve the conflict, but I really don't see the need to drop everything and run off to play mediator to try and stop a war. Not when I have so many other problems to deal with right now. A much bigger threat is coming. I don't have time to deal with this. She nodded. Yes, we are all aware of Magnus and his intentions, but that doesn't mean we can ignore everything else to focus on one single threat. She paused and looked to Eris for a second before glancing back at me. If the clans go to war, the Wolfmen will undoubtedly win. If that happens, they will exhaust their food supply and will begin hunting for new prey. Shit, I cursed as I caught her meaning. If that happens, then the Wolfmen would come down from the mountain and start hunting. The closest town to the northern mountains is Whiston, but beyond that it's just the Compass Kingdom. Morgan nodded. They would descend on the North Kingdom like a plague, and though the humans outnumber the wolves 10 to 1, many lives would be lost, and the loss of life would inevitably shift the power in the region. Damn it, why is this happening now?